Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Wyndham Championship preview show. Last event before we got the FedEx Cup playoffs, and thank you for spending a few moments with me. As always, I will break down the course, the skill rankings, all the guys we want to look at. We're going to look at a bunch of models and analysis. I'm going to, of course, recap the WGC St. Jude. I think we have a lot to talk about there. And with that said, and also I'll give you my favorite early bets that I've got in right now. All right, let's go do this. But before we do that, real quick, I almost forgot, I do have a giveaway going on for the FedEx Cup playoffs. And real simple, what am I doing? I am picking one lucky subscriber to win $1,000 of my money. And all you got to do real simple is be a subscriber. So subscribe if you're not. Hit that like button on any of the videos, of course, that I'm sharing with you guys. And all you need to do is tell me, who do you think this year will win the FedEx Cup playoffs? And you are in. And so definitely get into that as soon as you can. I appreciate it. All right, so real quick, let's talk about the FedEx St. Jude Invitational. You know, it was a good tournament. It was definitely exciting. You know, we had another playoff, and actually over the weekend on Sunday, we had two brand new winners to the PGA. Of course, Abraham Ancer pulled off in the playoffs to win the WGC St. Jude, which was one of my picks, and I talked about that. And I've said it a couple times, but this was definitely a course that I thought Abraham could win at and get his first win. Now, like a lot of people, did we think it'd be a WGC event? But, you know, funny enough, if you go back and look at his WGC appearances that were in Mexico, he's had a lot of good showings. Of course, you know, he had a good showing at the Masters. You know, he's been knocking on the door, I believe even Sanderson Farms, and I might be wrong on that, but off the top of my head that, you know, he had a good chance, just missed some putts coming down the line when he had his opportunities, but did not miss the putts yesterday. And of course, over to your right, EVR, Eric Van Ruin wins the Barracuda, which, you know, really no form to speak of. I mean, maybe little hints of a one-day kind of form, but good for him. It's been a while. His last win, of course, was on the European Tour, and then he came over here and, you know, kind of had on and off success. I'd say more off, but, you know, it all clicked, and, you know, good for him. And I didn't have any money, really didn't watch a ton of the tournament. Of course, Andrew Putnam was right there. You had Scott Piercy in the hunt, and Adam Schenk, who we're going to talk a little bit about today, was also in the hunt. And actually was leading, I believe, going into Sunday, but just kind of fell apart a little bit. All right, so more back to WGC. So, you know, going into Sunday, it looked like we might have our first wire-to-wire again leader. I mean, I think the last one was either Stuart Sink at RBC, and then maybe the PGA at the check Phil. But it's been a while since the person coming in with the 54-hole lead actually won the tournament. And honestly, I didn't think Harris would pull it off. My bets for that last day was DeChambeau, and I'm talking about bets that I put in on Saturday. I was thinking it was going to be DeChambeau, Smith, and I, of course, had Burns, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But long story short, you know, Bryson, like a Torrey Pines kind of U.S. Open thing, just blew up on the back. Of course, Harris blew up. You know, the water holes got them both. You know, par 3 11, I believe they both doubled, and it just kind of went south. You know, and it was kind of interesting to hear Harris's comments after that. You know, they got put on the clock, as we know, and that, you know, he said it did affect him, that he kind of did feel rushed. There was a few shots that he didn't maybe take the time and thought process that he typically did. Also, it's crazy hot out. I mean, and I know it's, you know, it's also windy. So that was another thing, as you saw the first 3 days, TPC south wind was not windy from the south. It was just dead calm scoring conditions. Finally, they got some winds in the, you know, probably around, I don't know, 11 a.m. noon they kicked up. But it was, you know, like I said, on both of them, felt, you know, honestly, a little bad for both of them. It just kind of started to go sideways for those guys. And then you had Hideki Matsuyama. So my narrative going into this, if you guys remember, was I wasn't really too keen on playing a lot of the guys that were coming over from the Olympics. And, you know, on one side, you can see, well, it was Xander Schauffele. It kind of showed. Also, he won the gold and was, you know, had probably a little bit of an Olympics hangover where, you know, you had Abraham Ancer, who actually won the tournament, also played in the Olympics, but he kind of talked about that, you know, he got there on Monday. Instead of going to sleep, he got his schedule, you know, adjusted ASAP and stayed up till, you know, he typically does. And then he said by Wednesday, he was right as rain. But, you know, Hideki, as you see there, you know, had a putt to win it in the playoffs, and it actually looked like it was in. And of course, in the playoffs, you had Hideki, Answer, and then Sam Burns, who kind of came out of nowhere. And what I mean that is that he was having some solid golf, but on Sunday I saw him kind of moving up, but really thought he had no hopes of actually, when you got Harris at 20 under. But the guys fell back, and then you had those three make it in at 16 under. And then it came down to, funny enough, Answer and Burns, who, when the playoffs started, I was excited that I had Burns 80-1, and it was going to be a really nice payday. But, I would take the better putters over, Hideki, as in, the actual just approaching off the tee, because I know those guys can do that too. I thought it was going to come down to putting, and it did. And as you guys saw, the Abraham Answer had probably like a 7-footer on the same line. And, it almost looked like, to me, Burns was in a really good spirit. I'm sure he was kind of under the thought process of, wow, this is, I'm playing with house money. I never thought I even have this opportunity. But I also kind of feel like maybe he took that putt a little light. I mean, I'm sure he watched. He was kind of funny. He was over to the side of Answer. Now, not like you could be right behind him, but you definitely could move in. But I mean, it was not a hard putt. It was inside left with the right speed, or a left edge if you're just going to barely. But, he started dead straight, and it worked and caught the right edge and button hooked out, and that was that. So, if I was going to, also, Burns on 18 had like a 20-footer to make birdie to get into the thing. So, for me, it was awesome that I even had a chance, because I did not put money on Answer because the odds weren't there. I never thought Hideki would be in that position. Just, again, Olympics. And really, like I said, Hideki is just so on and off with the putter that, hey, I think for all intents and purposes, I was glad that Answer actually won. It was his first win, and I'm an Answer fan. So, okay, let's go jump. I just real quickly going to show you some of the stroking analysis. I think there's some interesting things there, because some of these guys are going to be, of course, playing here at Wyndham. And then we'll get into the Wyndham breakdown. Okay, so I'm jumping over to Fantasy National, which I think is probably the easiest way to do this. Of course, total shot gain, you had actually Answer and Burns tied, and Hideki just barely behind. Again, crazy shot, 7 under on Sunday. Tee to green, Hideki led tee to green. You had Rory, Berger, Answer, Thomas. And again, I'm just showing you guys just from a stroke gain, just so you can see how the guys are doing. Off the tee, actually, McIlroy led that. Sergio, which, is no shocker, he just couldn't putt and also had approach. Cantlay had a pretty good showing. Just the putter is still kind of lacking for him. And then DeChambeau, really, I didn't even mention this, but Bryson was not on my radar. So I picked, out of my 10 picks, 50% were solid, right? I picked Answer, I picked Burns, Casey. Spieth struggled in the first couple days, but, ended up with a 12th place. Koepka was a disaster. And, I know that with Koepka, funny enough, I mean, you could see from his stats down here, just losing in all categories except off the tee. But one thing I've always noticed with Brooks, and I thought with this WGC, I think the first day he really did want to win it. Second day, when it didn't go his way again, I think he was just kind of out of it. And then Saturday just was like nailing the coffin, because, I mean, the guy went out and shot like, 4 or 5s, over on the last day. And so that's not Brooks. You can just tell he was kind of mentally checked out. Also had Corey Connors, who, kind of just same old thing, around the green, putting hurt him, and didn't do a whole lot on the approach side, which is typically his bread and butter. I faded Morikawa, which, that worked out. Again, a little bit of, you could say was the Olympics hangover. Let's go see who led on approach. So Daniel Berger was one of my picks also. Did well. I think he ended up like around 5th, something like that. Yeah, right here. I guess I could just look at under the positioning. And, you had Hideki coming in. He just, like I said, went in Fuego Saturday, Sunday. Rory actually played really well tee to green. Again, just the putter's killing him. And then same with Justin Thomas. I don't know what he's going to have to do to get some confidence with that putter. I guess start making some putts. But I think he even changed putters, and it still just isn't there. So, it's still a good person to always look at, especially with the FedEx. I mean, that guy, just like, if they get a putter that's even, average, they're going to win the tournament typically. So, the one thing I also want to look at is Siwoo Kim, who's done very well at the Wyndham, has won it here, typically places very high. He was just a disaster. And I'm just that's why almost the main reason why I'm showing you guys this is just so you know. Now, again, guys can flip from, of course, one day to the other, but lost almost 17 strokes on approach. That's got to be a record. lost 8 strokes on putting. Just was a nightmare. Cam Davis also, you can see, had some issues. Wanted to see on approach because approach and putting is what we're going to be talking about at this course. Kisner, which, I think a lot of people thought, and even myself, I didn't pick him, but, should have done well at that track, and you would think would do well here coming up at the Wyndham. So, anyways, that's it. I think that's enough on the WGC. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit further information from a stroke gain side so you know what some of the guys were doing at the Wyndham if you weren't following that. Okay, let's jump back and let's go break down the course. Okay, so they got a short little jaunt over to Greensboro, North Carolina. Of course, we are going to be at Sedgefield Country Club, and it's been hosting this event since 2008. The course has been around forever and has been hosting different tournaments forever. Of course, this is a Donald Ross. It was designed back in 1926, and then they had I call it kind of a slight renovation in 2007. They redid the greens, added some bunkers. We're looking at a par 70, a little over 7,100 yards, so not too far at all. Different than where they were at TPC Southwind. Of course, that's a tougher course, and it's got a ton of water, as you guys saw, how the back nine, really was going to determine who was going to win that tournament. But from a, grasses, except the fairways are Bermuda. I think it was Zoysia over at TPC Southwind, but the Bermuda rough is cut at the same length. And, of course, the greens are Champion Bermuda. Now, of course, a total different kind of field. I think we got like 18, maybe something like that, of the top 50 at this. You got a 156 player field. It's going to, of course, be cut down to 65 in ties. Last just kind of normal regular tournament that we're going to have this year. Historical cut line over the past few years is about 2 under, but there's also been a 3 under, so you're going to need to go low here. It is going to be a scoring / putter contest, scoring fest. Last year, this was probably, I knew Jim Herman, of course, but just was never really on my radar. But when he won this tournament, shooting 21 under, and I believe he was 500 to 1, it actually stung because you guys know I'm the king of betting the long shots or, even the mid long shots. But whenever I miss a guy that's 250 or, really high, I always kind of squeamish a little bit. Of course, you had JT Poston, which I believe the Postman, this is his only PGA victory, 2200. And Jim Herman, I did a bunch of research on him after he won. Like I said, I knew of him, but really, it was really never on my radar a whole lot, as he should not be, because literally he won at that time like $100,000 that year or something like that total. So, it was huge for him. We also just saw him, I think he shoots 6 under the first day at TPC Southwind at WGC. So he popped up there again, and I think he was still kind of up there on day 2, and then I don't even know where he ended. But again, just total side note on that. The greens are, larger than average here, 6,000 square feet. You got about 52 sand bunkers all out through the course. The water is totally different here. It does say water comes into play on 6 holes. When we go to the overview, I have a hard time of finding that, but we'll talk about that. And I don't have an exact stimp reading, but the greens do play fast here. And as I mentioned, really the only defense this course has, you've got some random trees, you got sand. Either it's going to have windy conditions, or it's going to be the greens. It's all about the greens here. Large, slopey, rolling greens, a lot of breaks around the hole. So it does come down, and it's not real hard to look at. It's all about the guys that I think it goes putting and then, work your way back. And on that note, the 2 things that are going to show up, and we're going to go over that, is approach and putting. And just so you know, of course, Louis is in this field, and I'm curious, there's quite a few guys in this field that, again, could pull out. I'm recording this pretty early on Monday. I don't have even the DraftKings scoring or out, but funny enough, the betting is out, but DraftKings pricing, which was the exact reverse of last week. But Louis actually leads the field in approach and is number 2 in putting over the last 24 rounds. So just a total side note, and he is in his field, but he actually struggled a bit on Sunday, and I'm just kind of, I'm going to be shocked if Louis plays in this. I don't know why he doesn't need it from a FedEx side, and he's played so much golf. So he had the Olympics off, but that's like 1 week. So anyways, he's in the field. Quite a few of these guys. Of course, you even got Eric Van Rooyen, I believe, is in this field. So yeah, I'll be curious to see what guys start to pull out as this tournament kind of unrolls. Now, there's some guys that this means the world to, because it's either them getting in the FedEx playoffs or staying. Also, there's some Ryder Cup. You got Patrick Reed here, so you got the Ryder Cup kind of point system going on. So there's different agendas on this tournament, but it's not, typically it's been always a lighter field. Okay, and as always, I kind of just give you a quick layout, and this is where I always tell you guys, go check out the YouTube, Wyndham Championship round 1, round 2. Go see the highlights round by round. Again, they're like 2 minutes long. If you want to see a little more of the course, and also to show you some of the guys, who's done well here in the past. Of course, I'm gonna be talking about quite a few of them, but really you can just see, a bit tree line, but not super tight. And then the main water that you're going to notice, except for the pool next to the clubhouse, is over here that, comes and involves on 15. Looks like a par 3 16. And then maybe, when you tee off on 17, but should not even be a thought process. And that's the only water, even though I said that I think there's 5 water hazards, but come into play on 6. So I don't know where the other water is, but nothing really to worry about. Again, this course, again, as I mentioned, it's pretty much a scoring field. Not if the wind doesn't blow, these guys are going to go really low. And from that point, so you can see there is a little difference between the front 9 and the back 9. The front 9 is definitely easier than the back. I mean, really, when this course starts to kind of heat up a little bit, you can see on number 10, of course, the hardest hole is on 18. You've got 8 long par 4s. I'm sorry, not 8 long par 4s, but 8 par 4s between 4 and 450. That's the bulk. I'll dive into all that analysis. But again, if you're thinking from a showdown perspective, if you want your guys to get warmed up, you could start them here instead of going off the 10th and let them, be able to come and handle these. Of course, you got the 17th, the 2 par 5s, a lot like what we just saw. You get, the ones that you got to take advantage of. Very, both of them are, eagles. What's the percent here? I just wanted to take a look. Yeah, I mean, you can see number 5, 6% eagle chance and 4%. So you could definitely, but the birdies are like 50%, 50%. So yeah, that's the scorecard. And then past conditions, not a ton I wanted to really show you guys here. You can see here hitting fairways, it's typically easy, but here it was difficult. Again, it had to be wind, even though I don't have that over here. 2019 was pretty calm. And then, of course, green speed, as mentioned, was fast. But all in all, not a lot here. It's manage, set your approach shots to be able to, have the best position coming in to hit the green and get it close to the pin and make your putt. And on that note, how to win, of course, as I mentioned, Jim Herman taking the picture out in front of the Wyndham Sandcastle they make every year. But, you could really flip these either way. I said, you could look at putting as the most important. I'm going to go with approach but it's 1A, 1B really. So we're going to go heavy on approach, putting. They got to make birdies. Whenever you get into these 20 or unders, the guys got to be able to convert their birdie opportunities and need a lot of them. So I'm going to look at those 2 things. Then scrambling shows up quite heavily. Of course, you got to, hit the ball well. You don't need length here. You just got to get it in play to give yourself set up for, the approach. Ball striking shows a little bit. I've got it, tuned in the model pretty low, but, I'm keeping it in there. One thing that definitely shows up is proximity to pin. Almost 30% of the approaches come in from 150 to 175. I mentioned there's a ton of these par 4s from 400 to 450. There's 8 of them. So we're going to make sure they're effective on those. And then you've got the gettable par 5s I mentioned already, the 2 shorter par 5s. And then 3-putt avoidance is also something that we're definitely going to incorporate into it, but again, pretty minimal. And so if you look at the past winners, of course, I already showed Jim Herman. But yeah, Brad Snedeker is one here. I mentioned Siwoo Kim. Of course, you can't mention the Wyndham, and you're going to hear it 1,000 times. Of course, Webb Simpson. It was like the Webb Simpson Open where he named his daughter. I believe he still has a home here. The guy just owns this course. And also shot, I believe it was like 6 under. He had 7 birdies on Sunday. I think he ended up like 5 or 6 under. So I think he spiked also on Friday. He had like a Friday, Sunday good showing at the WGC here recently, last weekend, actually yesterday. But anyways, so, you can just, it's not hard to see real quick the guys that we're going to want to favor, right? So, if you look at this list, Jim Herman, Billy Horschel, great putter on Bermuda. Kisner, great putter on Bermuda. Simpson. Now, then you get this off-the-wall Siwoo Kim, who has never been a good putter, and I just showed you the disaster he just had. But you can look over the last couple of years, and he's, top 5 each time. And then again, right off the bat, JT Poston, Webb Simpson. Now, Ben Ryan, again, he is a terrible putter. But you can see he gained, almost 3 strokes with the putter this week. Great ball striker, but he's kind of fallen to the wayside. Of course, Victor Hovland, same thing, not the greatest putter, but just an amazing ball striker. So you can ball strike your way around here, just like at the TPC Southland when JT won, or Justin Thomas. He actually lost two strokes putting. Just, ball striked it so close to the hole, or, chipped him in. And so, like I said, if you just take a look what got highlighted, I mean, you just look at the approach, it just shows up, for the top 5 guys. And it's funny enough, you can see around the green for the top 3 was, not an area that was a concern. It was just putting and approach. And of course, off the tee, you can't be losing a ton. You can't be in the woods and have good approaches. So, but, it real quickly tells you the story of what you need to do here and the guys you need to pick. So on that note, let's go look at, so this is the bigger model, of course, referencing what I just went over in the skills ranking. And if you just take the last 12 rounds of this field and there's no filters on, and I ranked, approached very heavily at 25%, putting at 20. So right there, you're almost 50%. Scrambling at 5, ball striking at 5. That procs, almost 30% of the approaches, coming in at 150 to 175. I've rated that a little heavier. Of course, you got those 8 par 4s. Got to make birdies, so you got almost 15% on that. Got to make the birdie or eagle on the par 5s. Of course, keep it into the fairway. And then lastly, I threw in 3-putt avoidance. I mean, they are larger greens. Just kind of emphasize putting a little bit more. Plug that in, click my rank, and it spits out, funny enough, Seamus Power, who just recently won, and I'm blanking, the Barbasol, right? We haven't seen him. He wasn't at the WGC, but, he was on our radars. He was playing really well and, pulled out his first victory on the PGA Tour. You got Hammer and Hank Laboda, who also playing amazing. He was even doing, I believe, really well at the 3M Open. And he had a withdrawal after Friday's round, and I believe he was like 4 or 5 under. And they just said it was a personal. It was wasn't due to the pandemic, COVID thing. It was just some personal things that he had to deal with. Of course, Louis, Russ Henley, been playing real well and is, an amazing putter on Bermuda. Ches Reevy's been playing well. Adam Shank, so he, as I mentioned, was a 54-hole leader at the Barracuda. Someone really live, of course, Sam Burns. I don't think I need to tell you any more about him. Just amazing putter. You got Luke List, elite ball striker, and has been playing well. So we got a lot of names of guys that, are just been, hammering and nipping another win in this list. And then if you want to just look at history at Sedgefield, of course, no shocker right out the bat, Webb Simpson. This is looking over the last 12 rounds. Again, I always try to keep up with the recent kind of information. You got Kiz, who's done well there, but, just had a terrible WGC. Sunjay M's not been in the best of form, but, at any moment, could turn that corner. Kevin Na, hasn't been putting that well lately. And kind of had an on and off WGC. I'd say more off. But again, when you think of, approach and putting, but like I said, Na's putting stats, we'll see. I do the best putters on Bermuda. We'll see if he falls in there. Of course, Jim Herman. So, guys that have won here in the past. I like Patty Kazire, as always, my Brokeback Mountain guy. But this is a perfect course. He had Chesson Hadley, who actually, was the Palmetto. He had a great chance to win and blew the putt on 18, but it really just kind of struggled on the back 9 on Sunday. And you got Matthew Wolff popping up, who, had a good opening day at the WGC and then kind of fell back a little bit. All right. And then funny enough, from a comp course perspective, I mean, we just left a very similar course, except remove the water here. So we can leverage, of course, the TPC Southwind. You got TPC Sawgrass. The last 2 here are Donald Ross courses. As I mentioned, this is a Donald Ross design. So the Rocket Mortgage, I think, is probably pretty similar. So it's just an old school, been around 100 years kind of golf course. So I think it's very applicable. But it's not a par 70. But the Tour Championship is, and you got Bermuda par 70, shorter course, East Lake, Donald Ross design. RBC I still think is applicable here. You got RSM again, Bermuda, par 70, shorter course, and same with Walea. So really not too big of a switch. The only difference is you don't have the water to get you in trouble here. So if we want to look at the guys that are best on approach over the last 12 rounds, again, this is no filters. I'm not trying to adjust for courses or, type of grass. It's just their last 12 rounds. Who's been best on approach? Funny enough, Michael Gellerman comes up number 1 on approach. Russ Henley, no shocker. Matsuyama, Percy, Louis. You got the Gooch, who's, showing up here or there. My favorite first round leader, Mr. Sebastian Munoz. I mentioned Seamus Power already. Chev Reeve's been a little better. Duffner's popped up a couple times. And, if he had a putter, if he putts well, could be very live here. Let's move over to the putters. So I wanted to put in, of course, now we are filtering just Bermuda greens, looking over the last 12 rounds and who's the best putters. Right off the bat, you got Justin Hadley, of course, Brian Gay, who won at Bermuda. I believe that was start of the year. Again, could do well here. I mean, there's no reason. He hits the ball in play and can put the lights out. You got Patrick Reed, who still shows up. I think he's been a struggle with the putter. Of course, Bermuda Burns, almost won the tournament just this weekend. I'm really curious what that's going to do to his ownership. And I didn't even look at his odds yet. I did make some bets, but funny. He must be, I'm guessing he's got to be pretty crazily up there now. You're not getting 80-1 on Sam Burns this week. Of course, Louis, Brendan Todd. Again, he hasn't been playing as well, but good course fit. You got Petty Kazire, that even Vaughn Taylor, who will once in a while sneak up there on you. And then the last thing I wanted to pull for you guys is the FedEx standings. I think this is always applicable just to take a look at. If you're where I think this maybe be important, if you're on the fence on a guy, I always kind of go references because, these guys do have, of course, a reasoning outside, to play one. Now you can say maybe, well, that's more pressure, but honestly, I think it's just more incentive. So Chesson Hadley, is right on the bubble. You got, CH3, you got Chase Seifert, of course, Fleetwood Rose, some bigger names. I don't know. Maybe both these guys, I haven't even looked. I'm pretty sure Fleetwood's in the field. I don't know if Rose is. You got Ricky Fowler hanging on there. You got Gary Woodland, who literally just played at the Barracuda, I think, to try to help his FedEx standings. You got Ryan Armour, Bryce Grenard. So anyways, this is something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying ultimately, make your picks by this, but, you're going to see this through the whole Wyndham Championship. It's almost annoying that they're going to be like, all the time, oh, look, this guy moved up, this guy moved down, but anyways, I'm throwing it up there. So all you got to do is go on to PGA Tour, type in FedEx standings, and you can go through the whole list. But this is right now, of course, to get in the Northern Trust, you need to be a top 25 or better. And it shows you the guys that are just outside and the guys that, are just inside. And I have seen that these guys right here, when they need to do well in a tournament to get in there, they do seem to pop. So take that for what it's worth. And then my early favorite bets. Now, I apologize. This is not probably up to snuff as I typically do, but I wanted to just pull this together real quick because we did actually have odds out when I was doing the show. And just so you know who I'm already betting. And so, hopefully you can get on these odds too, that they don't get, start to get watered down. But I think Hank Laboda at 70-1, that's a great bet. I like those odds big time. Ches Reavie, like I said, fits him. He has shown some life here and there. So 100-1, I like that bet. Mackenzie Hughes, right? I mean, didn't have the greatest Olympics by any stretch, but, showed up some majors, been playing really good golf. And of course, what's the best thing he does is putting. DraftKings, you can see right here, 70-1, FanDuel 80-1. Patty Kazire, I'm going to keep riding that guy. I think this is a great place for him. 70-1 on DraftKings. And these are all the bets I've already got in. And I do DraftKings because it's just the money transfers easily. I don't have a fan. I don't feel like setting up multiple betting accounts. That's just me. But hey, there's some odds that make sense. Like Adam Schenk, when you're talking 120-70, that definitely might make you to set up a FanDuel sportsbook account. But anyways, I like Schenk. Of course, I just mentioned been in great recent form. Almost, won the Barracuda. And then last but not least, I kind of threw this one in Chesson Hadley again. It's a long shot, 300-1. But, as I mentioned, Jim Herman won this tournament last year, and he was 500 to 1. So this is a tournament where some, very high odds can hit it. I mean, like I said, I'm not sure what answer was last week. I have a feeling it was like 30 to 1. But you almost had Burns win that thing at 80 to 1. So that would have been rare for a WGC event. But this event definitely, get some, if you're going to bet some, take some long shots. Okay, that's it. Again, I appreciate your time. I hope that helps you get the mind going for who you might want to play from a DFS perspective. Also gives you some ideas on guys that you want to get some bets out real quick on before the odds, can go down. It does typically happen, especially when some of the other guys get out there that might have a little higher popularity than I do. But I would greatly appreciate it if you hit that like button for me. Again, don't forget the giveaway. Make sure you are a subscriber and tell me who you think is going to win the FedEx playoffs. And you will get put into the random generator and might have a chance to have a nice little payoff yourself. And if I can help you or have any questions with anything, hit me up on YouTube comments, or you follow me on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru. All right, guys, all the best. I will have my pick show out tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys then. Take care. Have a great day.